This episode is brought to you by Nordstrom. Whether you're packing for a vacation or dressing for a wedding, Nordstrom has head-to-toe looks for wherever summer takes you. From swimwear and bold color to romantic florals and dresses that make an entrance, find the right style for every unforgettable moment. Shop new arrivals from brands you love like Farm Rio, Free People, Vince, Wait, and Stod. Plus free shipping and returns and styling help whenever you need it make it all so easy. Shop now in stores at Nordstrom.com or download the Nordstrom app.
Girl, winter is so last season. And now spring's got you looking at pictures of tank tops with hungry eyes. Your algorithm is feeding you cutoffs. You're thirsty for the sun on your shoulders. That perfect hang on the patio sundress. Those sandals you can wear all day and all night. And you've had enough of shopping from your couch. Done hoping it looks anything like the picture when you tear open that envelope? It's time for a little in-person spring treat. It's time for a trip to Ross. Work your magic.
Are you a lifelong fan of General Hospital?
Are you a new fan who wants to know more about the history of the show?
Do you enjoy talking about the show with others?
Do you find yourself yelling at the TV?
Is your self-care an hour a day in Port Charles?
If so, we invite you to join hosts
Amanda Kimmel
and Shannon Coach at the place where all the hidden conversations take place and secrets are revealed.
Meet us at Pier 54,
a General Hospital fan podcast. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to the Port Charles 411. I feel like we're going to announce we are recording this on May 19th, 2026. In case you are listening to this at any point in the future and you're like, you left something out. No, we didn't. We really should start doing that. Like whenever we start doing like the what we think is going to happen. Also, I have not watched anything this week yet. We only had Monday so far. Today's Tuesday.
Yep.
I have not watched anything.
I did not either, and I only did up to when their relationship ended because they are not officially in a relationship yet until something...
No, we can just say that they've been friends since...
Unhinged happens.
Exactly. So I don't think we actually said yet. We're talking about Willow and Chase and their romantic past. That was awesome.
It was so awesome. So I forgot how awesome it was. And then there's a whole playlist on YouTube. If you just type in Willow and Chase, it'll pop up. It's the first one. There's like over 200 videos. And it is perfectly edited. Like it just jumps from one to the next, all Willow and Chase. And I watched almost all of it. And just like she had an attitude. I don't know if she lost that because of Michael or if she lost that because she's a little more mature. But like she came out of that cult and was a determined woman to be on her own 2 feet and handle her stuff. And she had no problem giving it to anybody. It was beautiful.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. So what did you use for, other than the videos, what did you use for?
Oh, fandom.
Okay.
And so
what
Central
year did you pick up?
2018. They met each other the very end of 2018. It was like November, December.
Okay. You want to start first or do you want me to start?
You can start and then I'll just interrupt you.
Okay. So this was Chase first encountered Willow when he spotted her sleeping in her car in a hospital parking lot. Suspicious that she was drunk, he asked her to exit the vehicle, but she panicked and refused to believe he was a cop until she called the station to verify. After confirming his identity, she got out. He ran sobriety tests on her, though she insisted she had simply been taking a moment. He ordered her to move her car, but it wouldn't start. Lulu happened to be walking by and recognized the woman as Miss Pate, Charlotte's teacher. This is very important. Does that come into play? I think it should at some point.
I mean, it definitely we'll get there.
Maybe we should also do Willow and Nina.
Oh, that would be a good one. Yeah.
We should probably just do Willow. But anyway, you know what? That actually might not be that bad of an idea because we keep complaining about how much she's changed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Lulu fixed the car herself because Lulu could do that then.
She could. And Chase even said, like, how did you do that? Because she walked out. She said hi to Miss Tate. She said hi to Chase. And then she rounded the hood of the car. The hood was up. She rounded the front of the car and just like leaned over and like touched something for a second and then whispered to him, have her try it now. And it started. And he was like, how did you do that? And she's like, I'm my father's daughter. I know how I could hotwire this. I could get this car to run without a battery in it. Or Luke could get this car to run without a battery in it. And I was like, oh my God.
But she also did it so that it looked like Chase did it.
She let Chase have the total credit for it.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Lulu now would not do that.
Nope. She would put out a newspaper ad. I fix the car nowadays.
With teeth. He quietly tipped Chase off that Willow was a great person who was also single. Before Willow drove away, Chase noticed a pamphlet for a bereavement support group in her car and told her not to be ashamed of it. Shortly after, Chase ran into Willow outside of Kelly's. And if you are listening to this later, it is now Bobby's. Just in case you didn't know, Bobby's used to be called Kelly's, where she was grading papers. The two flirted, and he gave her his business card. Lulu, who had been watching, was she just stalking them?
She wasn't stalking. Yeah, I don't like the way that I typed that. She, like, you know how you can come from the back of Kelly's, like through that one little gate thing? Her and Charlotte came that way as Chase had approached from the front and was talking to Willow at one of those little tables that they sit out front. And so Charlotte really liked Willow at that point. And so she was like, oh, Miss Tate, they had a half day of school. And so she was like, Miss Tate, I'm sorry that you have to be working. You should get a half day too. And she was like, oh, well, the A's make my day go faster. So thank you, Charlotte. And then Lulu sent her in to get a scone. Yeah, it was like little cute Charlotte. And later on, we'll get to meet Violet. It was little Violet. And I'm like, oh.
Kids.
I know. Kills me.
So Lulu, who had been watching, encouraged the connection. Chase also participated in career day at Willow's school, where he asked Willow to dinner, and she accepted. The thing that's missing out of all this, though, is that when Willow went to the bereavement support group, Michael was there. And she met Michael, too. And then Michael also participated in the career day. And it's like they were kind of both vying for her attention. And I know, okay, so first date so it doesn't talk about career day.
It didn't talk about career day because I just figured I would interject.
She actually did go with Chase. Like, he asked her at the end of career day.
So it was Lulu, Aunt Stella, Michael, Chase, and then Finn. And like everyone had just been finding out that Finn and Chase were brothers at that point in time. So Chase, who obviously had a crush on Miss Tate, came in. He had he deputized Charlotte. He had he made fun
with him.
He did end up, like, at the end, he was like, because you guys are so good, I have a special guest. So he brought the canine in. There was something else that he had done. And then he made a joke about not parking where, like, don't be illegally parking. And she was like, they're too young to drive. And he was like, didn't say that was meant for them. And it just, like, kind of joked about that. And then Finn didn't have enough time to present all of his information because he wasn't as prepared as Chase. He, like, made fun of him and was like, I didn't know we were supposed to bring props or whatever. And then it was time for lunch. So the kids didn't get to hear the whole spiel. So at first, Chase opened it up as, hey, could I grab your number? Because Willow had offered to Finn, you could come back another day. I'm sure the kids would love to hear about what you do for your, doctor duties, whatever. And he was totally flustered and just, like, left. And so Chase was like, hey, could I get your digits to give to my brother? And she was like, oh, I didn't know that was your brother, blah, blah, blah. And then he said, and maybe I could use them too. And she was like, well, why would you want to do that? And he was like, so I could ask you out on a date. And she said, or you could do that while you're standing right here. And so then they made dinner plans. It was so cute.
Willow, the exact opposite of who she is right now.
Right? She was just adorable.
She was so sweet. Oh.
Yeah, she was, like, younger than our kids at that point. She was 22.
Shut up.
When they met,
seriously?
When they met, she was 22 and he was 27.
That's how old my daughter is. Okay. So their first date, I did not realize that.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense considering that was 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So their first date got off to a rocky start. He surprised her by taking her to his apartment rather than a restaurant, which she found presumptuous, and she stormed out. He followed her using his siren, and they ended up at a bar where a run-in with Nina briefly interrupted the evening. What happened with Nina there? Because she was still married to Valentine.
Mm-hmm. It was
she was not happy with the way that Willow was.
She wasn't happy with anything. She was a jerk.
She never is.
So Chase totally messed up because he says to Willow, hey, can we stop by my house and grab something? They go into his apartment and he starts lighting candles. And she's like, what are you doing? And he says, oh, I thought I would make us dinner. And she flips out on him and is like, I don't know what you think you're doing, having me come to your lair. And she turns around and like runs out and goes to the Metro Court. So then he follows her and she yells at him for using his siren. And then she gets a text, which I also thought was weird because we don't.
Fair. He shouldn't be doing that.
He shouldn't
be beating, unless he clocked her.
He said she was going fast, but he didn't give her a ticket. But then she got a text, which didn't make any sense because you shouldn't be giving your phone number out to parents. She got a text from Nina that said, won't you come join us? Signed, Nina. So she looks over and at a table, there's Nina and Valentine. And she goes over and says hi. And this is whenever Charlotte was teasing Aiden. And so it was a huge issue that... So Charlotte was in trouble for that. And then later Charlotte was in trouble because she cheated off of one of her classmates on a test. And whenever Willow brought this up to them, of course, Valentine was like, oh, I'm not sure. But Nina was like, you're just incompetent. You don't know how to teach my daughter. And that's what your problem is. And so she was just nasty to begin with. So, she comes back as she gets up to go to Nina's table. She's like, I may need something stronger than this wine I'm drinking. So she comes back and Chase has ordered a shot of all four like main liquors. Here is whiskey. Here is vodka. He's like, I didn't know which one you liked, so I just got one of each so that you could have. And she was like, no, that's okay. I'll just stick with my wine. So nobody drank those shots. It's kind of very wasteful, but whatever. And then they left and went back to his apartment to get the shrimp scampi is what he made.
Okay. I could see my husband doing that back when the end of our first date. He asked me to go to camp.
And you're like, so you can murder me and hide my body?
Right. I mean, we had just talked about like how far away it is. It's only 15 minutes away from my grandfather built a cabin. But
nice.
he's like, it's just back in the woods and all this. But it was a bunch of us are going up for Memorial Day. So our first date was on May 13th. And he's like, would you want to come up to camp? But it definitely, the way he did it was not.
He's like, I have this land. There's no cell reception. Do you want to come stay with me?
First time I went, I was on the phone and I told the person I was on the phone with, I said, here's where I am meeting him. I don't know where I'm going, but you will not find my body.
Right. I'm
like, so here's where you start looking.
Here's a picture of his license plate so you can have the police run it.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot. We have a lot of fun stories. He also kissed me at the end of our first date and I got mad at him.
Oh.
It worked out. I mean, we had a good first date. But it was.
That is presumptuous, especially because you guys, it wasn't like you were meeting, like you had hung out with mutual friends or something like that.
Right.
It was a true first
reminder.
date.
My husband and I met online. Yes.
Yeah.
And I had gone on other dates where there was none of that. I mean, we had a great first date. So I think that, I was flirting.
I mean, obviously you were okay with it because we got a second date, but.
Yeah. 17 years later.
Right.
So we're good. No, I just, whenever you were saying that, I'm like, yeah, JD would have definitely done that. So eventually Willow agreed and returns to Chase's apartment for the shrimp scampi he had originally planned to cook. Dinner went well and the two grew closer. The relationship continued to develop over subsequent dates, including a breakfast at Charlie's, where Willow opened up slightly about her unconventional childhood and her mother, though she deflected when Chase asked about the bereavement group flyer. Chase made it clear that the more he learned about her, the more he wanted to know. Aww. By New Year's Eve, the two attended a charity benefit at the Metro Court together and shared a kiss as 2019 arrived. What was the charity event?
Oh, my goodness.
You don't have to remember. It's okay.
I don't remember, but like I can see them all there because I watched it because, Nina was being snippy and Michael watched them have the kiss. Michael was there with Christina. That was the first time that Willow was introduced to Christina. And she assumed that it was Michael's date and was like, how long have you two been together? And they both laughed and were like, no.
Michael didn't know that they were dating yet.
Right. So, yeah, like you could see the little hint of Michael liked her, but she was oblivious to it. And then eventually he ended up with Sasha. So it was whatever. But I cannot remember what the charity was. Anyway, yeah, Metro Court.
Just blurt it out. Relationship continued to develop. Chase taught a self-defense class that Willow attended, and they met up for drinks afterward. Back at his apartment one evening, Willow kissed him and then opened up about her past, revealing that she was a grieving parent, that her baby was actually alive and had been given up for adoption. Chase had already suspected the truth about the bereavement group and responded with understanding and care.
He was super, super sweet. So the self-defense class, Liz and Nina and Maxie also took it. And poor Maxie was just trying to keep Liz and Nina away from each other because they just continued. Like Elizabeth was like, "Hey, Miss Tate, how are you? How are things?" And she's asking about how things are going with the boys and stuff. And Nina is just like she always is, well, Charlotte wouldn't have done that if she didn't need to. And maybe if you were paying more attention to Charlotte, she wouldn't have been bullying Aiden and just being a total jerk. And Maxie is like, okay, I didn't know I needed to keep you guys away from each other. And anytime that they called for like Chase called on someone to demonstrate something, Maxie was like trying to send one of them up, like, go ahead, so that they weren't sitting there bickering back and forth about their kids. And then, they went out and had drinks and whatever. And then later, it wasn't that same date, but later they got back to the apartment and he was talking about how much he cared about her and that he really liked her. And part of what he loved, because he had been with Nell before this, remember?
Not on screen, though.
Right.
Yeah.
But
they
that's
had run
what
into each other and he shared about Janelle.
Yes. So he was saying to her, he was saying to Willow, like, it's so nice to be in this relationship with someone who's honest and caring after coming out of this relationship with Janelle. And that was what made Willow be like, wait a minute, I have to tell you something before this goes on any further, and opened up about giving the baby up for adoption. But that was like really all that she told him. She didn't know anything about where the baby was yet, and she didn't tell him anything about who the baby's dad was or anything like that. It was just that I gave the baby up for adoption. So
especially at 22, I mean, we were both young moms, you know, that's enough to
right.
sometimes scare off a guy, you know. You throw in the fact that you were also in a cult, I feel like that I agree with the taking baby steps there, you know.
Yes.
But Willow later worried that she had scared him off, and Chase reassured her that nothing she had shared would make him want to stop seeing her, and that trust was everything to him. Over time, Willow also revealed her full history with Dawn of Day, but she had been a member, and that Shiloh had sent her away to get a teaching degree to recruit children into the organization from the ground up. Oh my gosh, I don't remember that.
I did not remember that either. I wondered how she had escaped to get her teaching degree. And she explained like how she got into it. And part of the reason that she was being so open with it is because she thought that since she had moved to Port Charles, she was away from Dawn of Day, but they were starting to infiltrate Port Charles, and Christina eventually starts getting involved with it. Mm-hmm. And then later on, Brad starts taking an interest in it. And so she was all about getting that information out there because she had now had a friendship. Daisy was in it. Good job.
Yep.
There's a good memory for you.
That Daisy was only on for like a minute. That one just popped in my head, though.
I could see from your expression, you're like, where did I pull that from? Yes.
But that she had used the opportunity to quietly leave. She had changed her name. This one cracks me up, from Kelly to Willow, which is fine. I mean, but it's just like you would typically think that it would have been the other way around, especially where her mom's name was Harmony.
Yes.
You know, you would have thought, I remember when it got that put together when she said something about like her name. And I was like, yeah, I mean, Willow's a beautiful name. So whatever. She carried a DOD tattoo on her back. And when Chase noticed and said it bothered him because it felt like Shiloh had branded her. And if you need a true story that this was based on, look up Nexium. It's messed up.
Yeah.
When Shiloh came to Port Charles and found Willow at her school, Chase intervened. He pushed her to stay in town rather than run and promised to protect her. Willow ultimately decided to stay and face Shiloh, wanting to prove he had no power over her. Chase and Willow grew closer through the ongoing threat Shiloh posed. They shared the details of the DOD situation with Michael when his sister Christina became involved, and Willow helped Michael get Christina out. Chase participated in efforts to build a legal case against Shiloh. He arrested him, and when Shiloh was released, obtained protection orders keeping him away from Willow, Brad, Lucas, and Wiley.
And he was let go because that was whenever Harmony was being stupid. So he got Sam.
Harmony was still in it at the time.
Right. So Sam had put herself in the cult so that she could learn all kinds of stuff to help make sure that Christina stayed out of it. Willow had helped by talking to Christina and telling her how bad everything was. And so it got to the point then where there was enough evidence that Sam said he drugged me during this initiation ceremony and wanted to sleep with me, and he's this horrible person. And so they arrested him. Jason had thrown him down the stairs. So he was in the hospital for a while, and then he was going to get out of the hospital and go to jail. And Harmony shows up and is like, no, I'm the one that made the tea and I put the drugs in it. Shiloh had no idea. And Shiloh pretended that it was 100% her idea and like scolded her or whatever. But they were dumb because they had an officer on his door, like guarding his door at the hospital, and they still let her go in and visit him. So of course they concocted this crazy story. Like, why are you letting his followers go in there? But they let her. Right. And so, yeah, she ended up coming up with this story of she was the one who had poisoned the tea with the drug or whatever. And so she went to jail and he was let go. And so that was why they needed the protection orders, because the whole court case was building of Shiloh was pretty sure that Willow had a baby. He
suspected that Wiley was
prove it. Right.
Yeah.
And then he was suspecting that it was Wiley. And so that was why the restraining orders needed put out for everybody.
Yeah. Through this period, Chase and Willow also deepened their relationship personally. They became intimate and told each other they loved each other and eventually moved in together. Chase proposed. She moved into his apartment, calling it, with a nod to their first date, sharing the lair together. And she agreed. The nurse's ball, Shiloh overheard an argument between Willow and Nina and learned that he had fathered a child. He confronted Willow in a hallway, demanding to know where his child was. Michael intervened physically, and Chase helped Willow afterward. The custody threat escalated through the courts, with Willow ultimately held in contempt for refusing to reveal information about the baby. Chase read her rights, placed her in handcuffs himself, visibly emotional. Eventually, Shiloh was arrested, stood trial, escaped, and was killed by a flare gun, trying to flee with Wiley. And Sam is who killed him. Like, they were on the Haunted Star. They were out in the middle of the harbor, and she just shot him, and he went down. And Jason was there too, but Sam took care of it.
Yep.
Willow identified his body. With Shiloh gone, she and Chase were able to breathe again and celebrate quietly. With Shiloh dead, Willow told Chase she hadn't realized how much he had been weighing on her until he was gone. The two ran into Brad and Wiley at Kelly's, and while Brad stepped outside to take a call, Chase and Willow played with Wiley. Willow privately told Wiley that she wanted to be his mother, but didn't want to take him from the home and the fathers that he knew. She valued his happiness over her own.
I'm going to interrupt you. Sorry. Whenever it says that they celebrated the fact that Shiloh was dead, it was another run-in with Nina. Chase had rented out the spa so that they could go sit in the sauna.
Right. Yeah.
And it was Nina's bachelorette party. And so she was like, you just have to tell those people to leave. And then she went in and was like, you guys need to go. I'm celebrating. I'm getting married. And Willow was like, and I'm celebrating that Shiloh's dead. So we're not leaving. Like, we booked this first. Sorry about your luck. And finally, Maxie.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, finally Maxie was like, Nina, we need to go. We're going to be late for our dinner reservations. And so they left. And then Willow and him continued whatever they were doing in the sauna.
Not long after, Willow felt queasy during a double date with Michael and Sasha and confided in Sasha privately that she might be pregnant. She wasn't sure she wanted children and hadn't told Chase. Sasha encouraged her to take a pregnancy test. Before Willow could share the results, Chase arrived with news that Brad and Lucas had been in a car accident. And then the test turned out to be negative. They did talk about it, though. They discussed. Oh, no. That's next. Okay. The test turned out to be negative, which Willow called the preferred outcome. When Chase later pressed her about what had been weighing on her, Willow told him about the pregnancy scare. Chase said he felt both relief and disappointment, that he knew she'd be a great mother and that having a child together would be incredible one day, but that they weren't ready yet. Both agreed it wasn't time, but it would be a happy accident if it happened. And I can understand that, especially with how she became a parent. first time.
Right.
And that's very traumatic.
I do still think that it's so silly the way that they play that out, though. I don't know how everybody else is, but like when I thought that I was pregnant, I wanted that test. I wanted to know that I was pregnant before I went talking to anybody about it. And Sasha was smart because they actually discussed it in the bathroom, and Sasha checked to make sure there was no one in the stall before she said, "Are you pregnant?" I was like, good job, Sasha. But Willow is like sitting at the hospital holding a pamphlet about your first trimester and whatever. And then she calls Sasha and is like, I just don't know what to do. And Sasha's like, take a test. And she's like, I can't even bring myself to buy a test. And Sasha's like, all right, where are you? I'll be right there. And Sasha shows up with the test and is like, here you go. And I just thought of our joke with the pharmacy. I'm like, you literally were at the hospital that has a pharmacy. You could have bought the test. But instead, she had to wait for Sasha to bring it. And then there was that little bit of, was it positive or not? Because Chase came up, so they couldn't discuss it. And then eventually, yes, it was negative. And she did have the conversation with Chase.
I think in this instance, I understand her not wanting to take the test just because of, like I just said, her first experience with pregnancy was horrible. And even though Shiloh was dead, wasn't even a possibility of being the father, it was probably just bringing up some of those feelings that she was having just because that was her first experience. And she was probably like, but if I don't know if I am or not, then I'm not going to have those feelings. And I don't know, I could understand that one.
I don't know. It was weird.
But with this specific situation, I think I could.
And like they sat down at the table and the guys went to go grab drinks. And Sasha and Michael had already ordered food. And so Sasha was like, Willow, if you're hungry, eat up. And she was like, oh, I'm nauseous. And then they went to the bathroom. They had the whole conversation and they came back and the guys came back. And Sasha's like, oh, if you're hungry, eat up. And she's like, okay, I will have some ribs. And I'm like, really? That conversation suddenly made you not nauseous? Because I'm pretty sure it's not how that works. But okay.
No.
Especially thinking you're pregnant nauseousness.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe.
Like telling a friend calmed her nerves.
I hope so. But it was just funny because I thought I wouldn't be eating ribs if I was nauseous from thinking I was pregnant.
Yeah. Thankfully, we're never going to have to find out how we would feel if we had a cult leader that had fathered one of our children and then we had to determine if we were actually going to be pregnant after, like with someone that we actually loved.
I am pretty confident that neither one of us are going to experience that.
Or heck, Mark. No, that's the only thing. If that was not factor, I would 100,000% agree with seriously, just go get the test. But we see it all the time, like in all the other situations.
Right. They do. They end up having a conversation with at least one other person, like, oh, I think I'm pregnant. I'm like, just go buy a test.
Right.
You do Target Drive Up now. You don't even have to go in and be embarrassed to be seen with it.
You get it? Instacarted too.
Right.
Yep. Neither of which are sponsors.
Right.
Throwing that out there. Harmony showed up unexpectedly at their apartment, having been granted early release from prison. She introduced herself to Chase and asked to rebuild her relationship with Willow. Chase and Willow were cautiously welcoming.
And you'll remember that Harmony's cellmate, and then they were both moved to the women's facility, was Nell.
Yep. The year ended with Chase getting them a room at the Metroport, where Willow reflected that it had been an amazing year, meeting, falling in love with, and moving in with Chase. 4 of them, Chase, Willow, Michael, and Sasha, rang in the new year together.
They were like
they waited a while for this one. Okay, continue.
I know. I don't know why it took so long. Like, I even went back and reread the notes. Like, did I have this out of order? But no, Shiloh's memorial took a little bit. So, yeah, we're into 2020. And at Shiloh's...
This was the beginning of the year.
Yep, exactly. At Shiloh's memorial service, Chase confirmed to the group that Nell had been released from prison and that her marriage to Shiloh appeared legitimate. Chase offered to drive Willow home after the memorial service, and she told him that Brad had asked her to nanny for Wiley while Lucas recovered from the car accident. Both Chase and Harmony expressed concern over the emotional toll, but Willow was firm. Chase asked only if she thought she could handle caring for Wiley and then walking away. She said yes, and he said that he could handle it too. And she got a little snippy with him because she was like, are we at the point in our relationship where I need to ask your permission to nanny my own child? And he was like, no, I just want to make sure that you're okay.
Situation. Yeah.
Right.
This is at the time, this is your child.
Exactly.
It's going to be okay giving him back. Like there's a difference between you prepared for the adoption and everything, but now you're being caretaker 24/7. Yeah.
Nell's presence complicated things further. She showed up uninvited at Chase and Willow's apartment asking for help, claiming Brad and Lucas were leaving town with Wiley and had to be physically removed by Chase, who threatened to call her parole officer. Because he opened the door and she immediately lunged at him and hugged him and was like, oh, Chase, you have to help me. And he's like, what are you doing? I think you just assaulted a police officer. And she was like, oh my gosh, I need your help. They're moving away. And that's the only connection I have to my deceased husband is his child. I need to have this relationship. And that was, again, whenever he was like, all right, just get out of my apartment. I don't know what your deal is.
Meanwhile, but Nell is the only person who knew 100%
everything. Yep.
Information. Even Brad didn't know.
Right.
Oh, no. Did Brad and Lucas know that she was Wiley's mom? So Brad then would have known.
Well, Brad knew because he had been part of the switch.
Yep.
Right.
So
but Lucas
Nell and Brad are the only two who knew.
Right. Lucas had no idea. And that's where she manipulated him. We'll get into this as we talked. Yeah. When Lucas did wake up, he asked Willow to return as the nanny. Chase expressed concern about her maintaining legal boundaries, but ultimately supported her decision. He was more troubled, though, when Willow accepted Brad and Lucas's offer to become Wiley's designated legal guardian without consulting him first. He told her he wished that he had been part of the conversation, but promised he would welcome Wiley into their lives if anything happened to Brad and Lucas. So, Lucas is at the hospital unconscious from the car accident. Nell needs a place to stay. So she goes to Brad and is like, you're going to let me stay at your house or your apartment, because if not, I'm going to tell the whole world that you switched the babies. And she was telling, even whenever the story did come out, she had already had it planned to tell everyone that she was unconscious in the car with Michael and that Brad came up and swapped the babies. She had no knowledge of it. It was all him. So he, of course, didn't want that information getting out and certainly didn't want it to be just his, issue. And so he let her move in. And then whenever Willow showed up to nanny, like they had originally agreed, Nell was like, I'll take care of him. It's fine. I'll take care of my husband's baby. And so once Lucas woke up, then it was reverted back to, it was going to be Willow that watched him, because why would you have Nell watch your baby? That's just weird.
Right.
The night of Brad and Lucas's going away party, Chase and Willow looked after a sick Wiley together, making dinner, giving him a bath, reading him a bedtime story. When Chase was called away, Willow held Wiley alone and told him she would always love him and that they would always share a connection because she was his mother. The same night, Nell shows up to the apartment, beats up Willow, and tries to flee with Wiley using fake passports that were provided by Julian, because he also knew all this stuff eventually. Not in the beginning, but he found out through the time. Chase and Michael arrived just in time. Chase ordered Nell to put the baby down. Michael took Wiley, and Chase found Willow unconscious on the floor. He carried her to the hospital. So then Michael goes back with Wiley, and that was the final conversation of why is Nell obsessed with this baby, other than the fact that she thinks it's her husband's who's dead and he's not even around. And so that was whenever Brad finally broke and told the whole story of everything that happened. And Sasha called Chase over to Carly's house to hear the whole story so that he could hear it from start to finish. So Willow was
heartbreaking, and that was also, we interviewed mom of the babies right before that.
Yes.
I think it was that week. It was revealed on Monday or Tuesday, and our 411 interview with her was that Thursday.
Yeah.
She had held up the script, and it was just the cover page. She was just they send over the script, and she was and she told us later, oh my gosh, I was so worried that I had accidentally flashed something. And that she so badly wanted to tell us, by the way, it's finally coming out, but she couldn't.
Right, because it took forever. It was another one of those storylines that just like dragged on and on and on because we did know the truth. We just wanted it out there.
Right.
So when Willow woke up at the hospital, Chase told her the truth. Wiley was not her son. Her biological son had died shortly after birth, and Brad had swapped him with Michael and Nell's baby. Willow was devastated.
That does not describe that.
Right, right. They were literally on the floor.
Robbed of an award that year.
Mm-hmm.
That
absolutely.
Oh, I can see it in my head. Her falling to the ground, hysterical, like just breaking as Chase is holding her. She's in her hospital gown.
Yep.
Just
it, like you could see it in her acting of how it like all hit. Like Wiley's, not only is Wiley not hers, but then she wasn't there for her own baby either, like because he was alone in the crib. And so Willow was devastated. She went to the cemetery alone to visit her son's grave, where Elizabeth found her and stayed with her. When Willow came home, she told Chase that she just wanted to be held. And that was really sweet with Liz. Chase had gone, so she told Chase that she was going to work. And Chase was like, I think it's a little early for you to go to work the day after you get out of the hospital and find all this information out. And she said, well, she wanted to keep everything, normal. And so later Chase called and was like, hey, I just wanted to check on Willow. And Liz was like, yeah, Willow's not here. And so Liz knew that she would probably be at the cemetery, and Willow's crying about how she wasn't there for her baby. And Liz was like, but you're not alone. You have people, and like just held her in the cemetery. It was so sad.
Yeah, by the way, in the meantime, Willow became a nurse. So she got fired from being a teacher. Well, now she's a nurse. There. Well,
she
we're
wasn't
gonna have to cover that.
She wasn't a nurse yet.
Okay, she was.
We will find out about it, but she was thinking of switching careers, like in her own, because she had interviewed to be the nanny for Charlotte, and then she realized who she was going to nanny for, and she said she wasn't interested then. And so she ended up getting the position at the hospital for the teacher that like teaches the kids that are in the hospital.
That's right. I'm sorry.
So that's okay. So that was how she was
and that's when she got the interest in becoming a nurse. That's right.
Exactly. In the days that followed, Willow pushed herself to keep moving, going to work, staying busy, while Chase worried she wasn't giving herself time to grieve. She decided to remain in Wiley's life in a consistent way, not as his nanny, but as a presence, and committed to helping Michael protect Wiley from Nell. As Nell filed for custody of Wiley, the question of Willow marrying Michael came about. Sasha raised it first, which Chase flatly refused. He was like, absolutely not. This is ridiculous. They like had a strategy meeting and she brought it up and he was like, Later, privately, Chase told Willow himself that marrying Michael was the simplest solution and that if she wasn't willing to do it, she needed to step back entirely. Willow told him that she was in love with him and couldn't step back either. The conversation ended without resolution. Behind the scenes, Chase and Sasha met privately and agreed to stage a fake affair. When Sasha and Michael believed he could beat Nell, when Sasha said Michael believed he could beat Nell without the marriage, Chase replied he was lying. They agreed that they were the only ones in a position to push Willow and Michael together. Are you good to do this? Chase asked. No, but I'm absolutely committed, Sasha replied. Willow came home to find Chase and Sasha kissing on the couch. She was blindsided. Chase offered a version of the truth, that he felt sidelined, that Willow had been consumed with Wiley, but did not reveal the deception. Willow left. She came back later to collect her stuff in 2 suitcases and moved out. Both cried when the door closed between them. And it was so sad because she was all excited. They had found this wine guy that was recommending wine to them all the time. And so
that's what they did. That's not in there because that was a constant thing. That was at least once or twice a month. It would be, well, what pick did the wine guy have? That was actually a app, right?
Oh, I don't know.
I think that I looked this up, the wine guy. So I was like, what is that?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't. Chase originally had found the wine guy, and then eventually Willow was like, oh, wine guy said, and he was like, wait a minute, when did wine guy become your guy? And so on this particular night, as Willow's like opening up the door, so she had plans with Chase, but then she met with Michael, and Wiley was in the hospital from the surgery that he had to have. And so Michael asked her if they could meet to talk about some stuff. And she said, well, can't we do it another night because I have plans with Chase? And he said, well, this is the last night that Wiley's in the hospital. So like, this would be perfect because I have free babysitting, even though they don't have like 1,000 nannies. Like, what the heck? But anyway, so she was going home to tell Chase, hey, can we do this another night? I'm going to go meet Michael. And so she's putting her key in the door. She's like, I hope he didn't open the wine yet. And then she opens up the door and there is Sasha on top of Chase, and Sasha's blouse is unbuttoned and they're all disheveled and, you know, the whole, oh my gosh, what are you doing here? And he was brutal. Like, you knew that it wasn't real because we had obviously heard them talking about it, but he was so mean. Like, she was like, how did this happen? And he was like, what do you mean, how did it happen? You're so obsessed with Wiley. You have no time for me anymore. Like, he was so mean. It made me sad, mad.
Something, I could be totally making this up, but didn't he bring up pregnancy scare versus, like, you said you didn't want to be a parent, but now you're like,
right. You're like constantly.
He brought that up. Like, you didn't want to be a parent with me, but like,
yeah. It was so sad. It was so sad. In the days following the lie, Chase and Sasha sat alone, both in tears. Sasha suggested it wasn't too late to come clean, and Chase said it would be good for them, but not for Michael and Willow, and that the best way he could love Willow was to lie and let her go. Finn, who knew the full story, urged Sasha to consider whether playing God with everyone's lives was really the answer. The deception held as the custody hearing approached. And it was really funny because Finn, who was not very observant, I feel like, showed up at Chase's, and Chase was like, yeah, Willow moved out. We broke up. And he was like, why? And so Chase tells this whole story, and Finn's like, okay, do you want to tell me the truth now? Like, this was obviously all made up. What is going on? And so Chase was like, no, seriously, I cheated on her. And he was like, no, you didn't. I can see in your face, like, as you're telling the story, you're not being truthful, and like, your heart is breaking. What is going on? And so he made Finn promise not to tell anyone, and he told him the whole story. And then Sasha ended up at the hospital because of a altercation at the boxing ring. And whenever he saw Sasha at the hospital, that's when he was like, do you really think you should be playing God? And she was like, yeah, sorry, whatever. So it went on that so fandom says that they were estranged from April 22nd through November 18th. And during that time, the custody hearing took place, and they did win sole custody of Wiley. And Michael, well, obviously, before the hearing, Michael and Willow got married, and then they won full custody of Wiley. And so during those months, she wasn't interacting with Chase at all because she was being the good little mommy to Wiley, and her and Michael were growing closer.
Yep.
So then Chase burst in on Willow. Whoop, I went too far. Oh, Finn was in the hospital. He was having some type of heart failure. I don't know what brought that on, because
wasn't that stuff that Chase wound up taking, wasn't it?
Was it the same stuff?
I forget.
I'm not sure. He ended up at the hospital, and Willow was very kind and like just making, she liked Finn. They were good friends or whatever, or like friendly because of Chase. So she had checked in on him. So Chase bursts in on Willow and Michael together at the Quartermain mansion. He apologizes, and he totally did. He was like, I'm so sorry. I just wanted to tell Willow that Finn was going to pull through, and they told me that she was up here painting one of the rooms. And Michael's like, yeah, nobody knows what's going on here. It's okay. Like, you're fine. Later, Willow texts Chase asking to talk and met him at the Floating Rib. She told him that what had happened with Michael had surprised them both, and that so much of their lives had been dictated by outside forces. They were finally making their own choices. Chase said he was happy for them and sad for what he had destroyed. Willow said the same. And then Sasha overdosed, and that was the whole Cyrus stuff that she was into, and Harmony was part of that, and it was a whole big whatever. But Sasha overdosed and ended up in the hospital. Chase and Willow went to the hospital together. Sitting alone on a bench, Willow told Chase she wished that she'd said something about Sasha's feelings for Michael sooner. She admitted that she probably held back because she hadn't wanted Michael and Sasha to have a happy ending when she and Chase couldn't. Chase pushed back, telling her it wasn't her place to shield people from pain and that Sasha had made her own choices. And then at that moment, he starts telling her about what really went down. And Carly, who knew about the fact that there wasn't really an affair, starts telling Michael the truth. The affair had never happened. Chase told Willow the same thing simultaneously. He explained that the only way Willow wouldn't have hated herself for choosing Chase over Wiley was if Chase made her hate him. And so that he and Sasha had staged the kiss the moment they heard Willow's key in the door. They had not hooked up, and that was whenever they kissed, just for that. And they had taken themselves out of the equation so Willow and Michael would do right by Wiley. Willow was furious that fundamental decisions about the relationship had been made without her. Chase explained he'd planned to tell the truth after Wiley was safe, but every time he saw her and Michael together, they seemed like a real couple building a real family. He hadn't wanted to hurt her again. It was nearly losing Finn that made him decide to be honest. He told her he'd broken up with her because he loved her and had never stopped. And it was heartbreaking watching Sasha and him go through all of that. At one point, he says to Sasha, "You're just realizing how much you loved Michael now that you're not with him. But I knew how much I loved Willow the entire time," and says something about how from the very first time he met her, every time that she walked into a room, he took her breath. She took his breath away. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're so sweet, Chase. I love you.
Yeah. And this is why I love them so much. And this is why this is where everyone was fighting. The fight was starting on the no, Willow and Michael need to be together. And I'm like, no.
They were so sweet. It was like a real pure love, and they both were themselves. They didn't hold back. It was beautiful. So Willow later went back to Chase and told him she'd been relieved the affair was a lie, but that things had become more complicated. She and Michael were no longer just platonic friends. She told Chase she never wanted to face life without him, but that her feelings for Michael were real too. Chase said that he was all right with no immediate solution and was glad she hadn't shut him out entirely. They said goodnight. And then at the Polar Bear charity drive, Chase and Willow were both surprised to find each other participating. Chase helped her with her coat. They jumped in together, they held hands and jumped in together.
Sweet. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And afterwards, he shared his extra towel with her because she forgot hers in her car, and so he had a second one. His father, Gregory, who had hoped to meet Chase's girlfriend, was introduced to Willow and had to be told that they weren't together.
After he spent minutes gushing about Chase loves you so much. He's told me all, he went on.
He did. It was like, Dad, shut up. Dad, shut up. Dad, shut up. The group ended up at Race Plaza for hot drinks, where Gregory pressed for details, and Chase acknowledged simply that he had lied to Willow, and Willow added that it had been for the right reasons. Afterwards, Chase apologized for his family and asked if there was any chance of continuing their conversation over dinner. Willow wasn't sure, but eventually said yes. Chase said the day had been the happiest in a long time, and then Willow wished him a Happy New Year.
In 2021, Willow arrived at the Metro Court restaurant, and Chase had thought she was going to cancel. I almost did, she replied. He would have understood, but he was glad to be there with her, and she agreed. A short while later, Chase was telling her about what happened to the canine dog he had taken for her class when she suddenly interrupted him. She no longer wanted to pretend that there wasn't an elephant in the room, and she added they weren't there for small talk. Chase and Willow rehashed the situation that had caused their breakup when she told him that she couldn't wish away the pain that he had caused her. Chase begged for a second chance to show her that he was still the guy she'd once thought he was. The two leaned in for a kiss, but Willow pulled away. She cried that she was married, but she wanted him to kiss her. She excused herself as the situation was too complicated, and she ran out. Then on Valentine's Day, they had dinner at the Port Charles Grill, though Michael's name came up repeatedly. Willow mentioned a wine that she had learned about in a class that she had taken with Michael. And wasn't that in Napa Valley?
Mm-hmm.
Like it was not just, and that's where Chase is like, okay, cool. I have a guy that I watch on YouTube, and
Right.
Yep. I have no idea if it was on YouTube. I'm just saying, like, it was an app versus Napa. We talked about the renovations that Michael had been doing at the gatehouse after she had mentioned liking certain things. Chase
So Michael and Willow had decided that they were going to annul their marriage and see where life led them, whether it was them ending up together or they had other options to explore, but they were getting an annulment. And so she was going to move out. And then Michael said, well, why don't you just move into the gatehouse? And so he I don't want to say stalked her, but stalked everything that she talked about, even just oh, I like this fork set. Well, then it was sent there the next day. So he remodeled everything the way that she had said that she wanted things to be done.
Aw. And then Chase said that he understood that Michael was a part of her life and that he felt pretty great in the moment regardless. He spoke about hoping their relationship would grow the way his family had. Afterward, Willow ended up back at the Quartermain mansion watching Love Actually with Michael, film she noted was about everyone being in love with the wrong people. That movie would not happen now with Ring doorbells.
Nope. And then before you get into this paragraph, just so it makes sense, the Chase's family growing, his mom came back into town and he had no idea why for a while that his mom and Finn would not socialize with each other at all because they share the same dad, but not the same mom. And then it came out that she had an affair with Finn, and so she wasn't sure if Finn or Gregory.
It wasn't even a full affair. They had just slept together the night before the wedding to Gregory.
Right. Exactly. So she wasn't sure who Chase's dad was. And so Chase didn't know all this. And he kept bugging Finn, come on, have dinner, let's get together. And so the four of them, Gregory and the mom and Chase and Finn, all went out to dinner. Jackie, thank you.
Jackie Templeton.
Yes.
Not to me more, Jackie Templeton.
Right. Exactly. And then they mentioned whatever restaurant they were at, they mentioned that whenever they were younger, they used to change their drinks with the Lazy Susan. And so they spun the Lazy Susan and drank their drinks. And then suddenly we get into this with Chase. So go ahead.
So then Chase collapsed and was hospitalized with a mysterious illness causing neuropathy, seizures, and paralysis in his legs. And if you are watching this in May of 2026, Willow didn't cause it.
Right? It was not the same thing that poor Drew was being injected with.
Oh, I wonder if this is where she might have gotten the idea, though.
I don't know, but that's funny. I feel like Sidwell gave her that idea, but that is really kind of funny.
She could have been like,
oh, yeah, my first husband.
Right.
Oh, man.
And Willow stayed by his side almost continuously. She brought him tea, sat with him through the pain waves, helped him with his hospital gown, and refused to leave even when he told her that she could go. Chase told her that just looking at her made him feel better and that she was the only thing in his life that made sense. From his hospital bed, he recreated an imaginary trip to Nantucket, the trip they had once planned together, with beach sounds, decorations, and an admiral's hat for Willow. When she tried to stop him from kissing her to protect his health, he asked if something else was wrong. She started to tell him something, but Finn burst in before she could finish. And then then Chase proposed to Willow from his hospital bed. He admitted that he had begun planning a proposal before the fake affair scheme and apologized that he had no ring and that the circumstances weren't what he had imagined. He said he wanted whatever days he had left filled with her as his wife. Willow said she would be honored. From the hospital chapel before the ceremony, Willow privately told Sasha she knew her heart belonged to someone else, that she loved Chase too. The worst part about this is it's Michael, Sasha's ex.
Right. Let me confide. But Sasha was actually calling her out because Sasha was like, I have seen the way that the two of you look at each other. So don't tell me that you and Michael don't have something going on.
She told Chase that when they were discussing creating the affair. She said within a year, she's like, they're going to get married for the baby. But within a year, they will be in love with each other.
Yep.
And we will not get them back.
Yep. She did. Exactly. She called it.
This is also, she'd already started dating Brando at this time.
Yes.
So she didn't care about Michael. Not that she didn't care about Michael anymore, but she had Brando.
That's not a bad consolation prize.
He was not a consolation prize. He was first place all the way. but that she loved Chase too, and that the wedding was the last gift she could give him. She prayed she was making the right decision. Michael walked in, and she said she looked beautiful and stayed because Chase had wanted him there. During the ceremony, Chase was unable to hold the ring, so Michael slipped it on to Willow's finger. Chase told Willow he loved her, and they kissed. Chase flatlined shortly after, returning to his room, but was revived by Finn using a modified antidote made with Gregory and Jackie's DNA, which also revealed that the first paternity test had been tampered with and that Gregory was Chase's biological father after all. Chase survived, though left unable to walk. And then during Wiley's birthday party, Willow slipped away to the gatehouse in distress. The day was also the anniversary of her baby's death. She told Michael she wasn't sure how to survive, how to feel, and that there was no gift that needed wrapping. She had just needed to get away. Michael told her it was okay to grieve and held her. They ended up in bed together. That's one way to grieve. Austin and Chase arrived at the gatehouse shortly after, and Austin found their clothing on the floor and tried to steer Chase away. Chase insisted on seeing for himself and found the bed in a disarray. He said nothing. He returned to the party, coldly thanked Michael for consoling Willow, kissed her goodnight, and wheeled himself toward the door. When Austin caught up with him, Chase asked to be helped and pack his things to leave because he was living at the Quartermain Mansion at the time.
He was, yes. He was living at the Quartermain Mansion because that was another Michael brainstorm of Chase was dying to get out of the hospital as soon as he was feeling better. And so Michael said, well, you can just move in here. Then you'll be close to Willow and Willow can still be close to Wiley and it'll be perfect. And all these doctors.
We have all these people here and we can definitely have nurses and
yes.
Monica lives here. So why not?
Yep, exactly. He did at least ask Monica's permission. So that was good. But, after Chase saw that they had slept together, he was like so snippy and just making everything over exaggerated. No, it was just like funny because that's not how Chase normally is. So like even whenever it was time for him to go to bed, he was like, I can't go to bed without a kiss from my beautiful, wonderful, adoring wife and that type of stuff. That was just like, all right, dude, you can go to bed. It's fine. But this is whenever Austin was trying to get a share of the Quartermains and he thought he was a Quartermain and he wanted some ELQ and whatever. So he pretended to be Chase's friend, but really he was like, no, Chase, stay in the house so that you can get this information for me and then I can take the family down. If you really want to hurt Michael and get back at him, this is a way to get it done. So he wasn't being the best person either.
Yeah, that was Austin urged him to stay and fight for his marriage. And then Chase quietly began walking again in private, hiding his recovery from Willow. He deleted a text from Austin and said nothing about what he knew. He continued living at the Quartermain Mansion, watching Willow and Michael interact, giving no indication of what he had seen. Eventually, Willow sat Chase down with Michael present and told him she wanted an annulment because she and Michael were in love. Chase said that he already knew. He revealed that Austin had helped him walk to the gatehouse the night Willow and Michael slept together and that he had gone upstairs and seen the bed. He was furious, asking why she couldn't have been honest, why she hadn't turned down his proposal, why she had let things go on for so long. Willow said she had never been able to refuse him when he needed her. Ew. Mm-hmm. And that every time she had tried to tell him the truth, something had stopped her. She said she had to try to get back at what they'd... She said she had tried to get back what they had, but couldn't. She would always love Chase, but she was in love with Michael. Chase stood up from his wheelchair and walked across the room, showing everyone he had recovered. He said Austin had also helped him locate a document, proof about Edward's will, which Austin had hoped to use. Why was that so difficult? Chase handed it to Michael instead and said he didn't care about it and walked out without his wheelchair. Willow followed him to his apartment. They talked through everything, the fake affair, the proposal, all the missed chances to tell the truth. Chase said his lie with Sasha had turned out to be the thing that broke them apart forever, and Willow agreed. She had said that she would always love Chase for his sacrifices for her and Wiley. Okay, if you recognize that he sacrificed for you and Wiley, why can't you realize that? Why can't you realize that? Mm-hmm. He said he wouldn't have been able to forgive himself for doing nothing. Both said they were grateful to have each other in their lives. Willow took off her wedding ring and gave it back to him. Alone afterward, Chase told Finn everything. He said Willow wasn't a cheat. Yes, she was.
And if she wasn't then, she became one the next year.
She has a thing for nursery rooms, which is weird. She had to have genuinely fallen in love with Michael, and Michael was a good man who hadn't set out to hurt anyone. That one I will give. Like, they didn't, but yeah. He said the worst part was that it wasn't trashy because that would have been easier to dismiss. He only wanted Willow to be happy, even though he was sad for what they had lost. When Finn asked if he would do it again, Chase thought about it and said he guessed he would. He placed both wedding rings on the table and said he had to get on with the rest of his life. And then in November 21, Chase corrected Bobby regarding his relationship with Willow, calling her his ex-wife.
Yep.
So did they actually get an annulment?
I would
Or did they get a
assume
divorce?
so.
Because she does call him her ex-husband. Like, they do refer to each other as ex-husband and wife.
Yeah, I don't know which route they went with that. I knew it was an annulment with Michael. I don't know that it was an annulment with Chase. How many annulments are you allowed to get? I guess we should ask Sonny. Because he's still getting married in the Catholic Church on his 10th wedding.
In that case, though, like, so she and Michael had not consummated while they were first time married, fake married.
True.
And also when Chase was in his paralysis and everything, they had also not. So
Right. But do people even ask that anymore?
I think so. I think that that's one of the questions.
Is that like the standard for an annulment or not? I honestly don't know.
It's a, have you been in? Like, I think that part of it is like, oh yeah, it says status, annulled marriage, friends.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, I don't know. I feel like they refer to each other as ex-spouses.
They do.
Oh, you know what you didn't put in there from the nurse's ball when he sang to her?
Oh, yes. Yep.
Oh.
He did. That was very sweet. And he brought her up on stage. That was the nurse. Yeah, that was
her around.
That was Shiloh went with Sam, and Shiloh was like angry that she was there moving on with Chase. And then that was whenever she got the phone call from Diane and went outside. She was talking to Diane, and that's whenever Nina overheard and started yelling and screaming. And then, yeah, Shiloh heard. So you're right. I'm sorry. I did forget to include what he's saying. It was very sweet.
That was very sweet.
Yeah.
What did he sing to her? Hold it. I know what it is.
If you're on their wiki page, it says it. If not, I can find it in my OG note. I don't know what it's called. It's that song that goes do 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 do.
Something just like this.
Thank you.
It's the Chainsmokers and Coldplay. You got it as soon as I pulled it up.
I don't know, and the worst was what songs are called, but I watched him sing it to her, but that was like the best part is that song goes do 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 do.
Yeah, but it was so cute. It really, really was.
It was. Their whole relationship was so cute.
To watch her right now.
Right? Yeah.
Because she was so sweet. Yeah, we're all right. We might. What did we say we were doing after we just finished?
We just said, like at the beginning of this.
What did we say before we came up with Willow? What were we working on?
I don't think we announced
Valentine. But you know what? I kind of think that we need to. This brought up. I feel like we also need to cover Willow and Nina's.
Yeah, that would be good.
Completely. They did also.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we'll do that next week, or should we just do Willow?
I mean, I feel like between this storyline and that storyline, you have Willow. So, I did also forget to mention whenever they had their dinner and they were like getting reacquainted with each other at the beginning of the year, that's whenever she was like, oh yeah, I'm taking nursing class. He had heard from somebody. And so he asked, and she said, yeah, she was taking nursing classes. And so it was the job at GH working with the kids that made her want to become a nurse.
Right. I'll look at and see. Maybe we'll just do Willow minus Chase.
Okay.
And that'll cover the Dawn of Day stuff. Then there's also the Harmony stuff.
Yeah.
We can't really take a poll on this one either.
Right. We need to get started now.
How about we'll just do Willow, but we're going to, or should we just do Willow and Nina? Maybe we just do Willow and Nina.
I think Willow and Nina is more on point because of the whole, her blackmailing Nina and stuff. And that really is pretty much going to tell the story. I mean, Dawn of Day, we heard about
but
through
all the
this.
Stuff with Harmony is going to be included. All the stuff with, we'll just do Willow and Nina because I feel like it's also the complete 180 relationship of what we have now with Mom.
Oh my God. So ridiculous. Yeah.
And right. So I guess next week we will talk about Willow and Nina, but if you did not watch when Chase and Willow, no, I don't want you to go back and watch because I also don't want you to be okay with what's happening.
I do want you to go back and watch because it's awesome. The playlists that are out there. are awesome. And seeing Willow.
Not okay with what's coming up.
Right, exactly. Seeing
It's even happening. It is. We
it's
both know that it is.
going. Yeah, you do know that it's going to.
Oh, I hope not. Oh, we should take a bet on if Brooklyn's gonna beat her.
That would be great because Brooklyn,
back to being feisty.
right? Brooklyn is who called Sasha out whenever she found out that Chase and Sasha had hooked up. She was the one that was like, I can't believe that you're so awful, and called her all these names, and you broke up and Chase is the nicest guy in the world. And so it is just going to be crazy to see Chase not be a nice guy when he starts this.
Yep. Yeah, I guess join us on Monday as we recap this week's episodes. And I'm looking forward to recapping whatever it is coming up.
Maybe they'll kill it. We'll see. Have a good weekend.
And we'll meet you at the pier.
Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed today's show, we invite you to go to pier54podcast.com to subscribe on your favorite platform. Don't forget to leave us a review. And you can also follow us on many social media channels. Just search for Pier 54 Podcast. Also, we are not perfect, so if there is something that we missed or messed up, just let us know by emailing us at pier54podcast@gmail.com.